Ipe, Damon Jones, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, all of these guys investigated, arrested for illegal sports gambling, or if it comes to poker gambling like Chauncey Billups, whatever it is, it needs to stop. But there's one big player that's yet to be discovered, and it's Aaron Boone. I can't prove it yet, but Aaron Boone is definitely somebody who meddles in some sports gambling. Because how else would you explain in game one of the 2024 World Series? Putting in Nestor Cortez, who hadn't pitched in over a month, and the last time he pitched, he got lit up by the Angels, to go in game one against Freddie Freeman with the bases loaded instead of Tim Hill, who in game two faced Freddie Freeman and popped him out. So, how else would you explain that other than you actually were actively betting for the Dodgers to beat the Yankees in the World Series because of betting on them for money? Game two, you have Trent Grisham, who just had a career year. You had Jason Dominguez, who hit a double and is, only at bat against the Blue Jays. But you went with Jose Trevino, who ends up getting traded to the Reds with the bases loaded down 4-2. I'm just saying. Aaron Boone multiple times has blown it for the Yankees with some low IQ decisions. So if anybody should be investigated and arrested, it should be this man. But on a more serious matter, wow, is sports gambling ruining sports? I have to admit, as a guy that's allegedly partaked in a few parlays himself in the past. Now, I ended my little gambling thing in 2023. You could check my Price Picks account. I was really riding on Joel Embiid when he used to play like an MVP caliber player, not like Al Horford in 2024, right? I really rode on his coattails. Then I got sold out by a three-pointer by Cam Johnson. I had him over on threes. He looked pretty solid every single game. And then, boom, he went like 2 threes, and it was 2.5. So he kind of ruined my money there. And then ever since then, it was a pretty big parlay, and I stopped. I actually stopped sports gambling. So as a former sports gambler, allegedly, I would have to say it is ruining the sport. Because how wild is it that now we can bet on players' specific stats? And I was gonna put a clip of Terry Rozier absolutely being trashed against the Cavaliers, and I saw that live because I'm a Cavs fan, and I was like, this guy is either high or definitely betting on himself to be bad, because he was doing some pretty bad turnovers, air balls, all that kind of stuff. It's like me on 2K, when you're playing my career, or when you're playing my NBA or my GM, sorry, and you're kind of trying to let the other team, you're trying to get your team back in it, so you go and choose the other team and start airballing threes and letting the computer get back in the game, and then once it's tied, you switch back over to your original team, if that makes sense. But Terry Rozier was trash. Jonte Porter, the way Michael Porter Jr. is talking, they got to investigate that guy. And obviously, Shohei Ohtani is the most obvious. I was caught for sports betting, but now I'm just going to throw Ipe under the bus, and Ipe's not really going to get anything bad because he wasn't really sports gambling. He was just gambling for Ohtani, because why would Ohtani go personally to the sports book when he could just send his translator, who was a dear friend, that was such a dear friend that he took the fall for such a big crime. But we all know the MLB without Ohtani would absolutely get obliterated with ratings going down the drain, because we know how much he brings in with the the Asian continent. Sorry. But yeah, this is literally how the NBA is looking right now. If you've seen The Sopranos, these guys were some pretty degenerate gamblers who were meddling in with the actual gambling. But it's so bad that if you check this clip, and I don't want to play it. Yeah, there we go. You see this. They're talking about the sports gambling with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups, who, there's active investigations or they've been arrested. You see ESPN Bet Sportsbook. New, bet $10, get $100, right? They had this while speaking about gambling. That's how infiltrated gambling is with sports, because there's a lot of money in it. But the problem is when the players get into it, and obviously there's rules corresponding in order to keep the game competitive and no gambling. But the thing is, how is Terry Rozier's aunt or brother or all this say, yo, I got you under on threes, just airball a couple, don't hit more than 3 or whatever? That always plays a factor, and obviously they're going to take a bit of a cut there. And that's my problem with it. It's even when you're in the sports, talk here with ESPN, you have it here on the bottom right. And once they started talking about how important it is, boom, they disappeared it. As you can see right there, they took it off because they were like, oh, we're over here saying how bad sports gambling is infiltrating sports and it's becoming more popular and more important than the actual sports game, because everything has to do with money. And really, a lot of the people don't actively care if their team wins. They rather get their parlay done. Not myself. If you told me 10 racks or the Cavs championship this year, I'm taking the Cavs championship. But people prefer to make a living off price picks, which you can do. And imagine if you could actively hit up the player to, hey, do this or do that, do this. Oh, that's what Jonte Porter was doing. This guy actively, visibly got mad at him scoring a bucket because he had himself under on everything. He was trying to miss and he accidentally scored a point and ruined his own parlay. He was actively mad. How do you get mad off making some points on garbage time, which could lead to you getting more minutes? He didn't care. He was actively just trying to get more money off his parlays, off people's parlays. And that's the problem. And then ESPN's in it, Prize Picks is in it. And there's so many betting websites for sports that it becomes such a big thing. And these odds are so great that it's so hard to hit a 5-6 leg parlay, right? That imagine if 6 players got together, all actively said, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Boom, 6 leg parlay, you put in $100, bam, you made like $1,000. Just off them having a stat that they know they could keep lower. Oh, I'm not really hitting threes, I'm just not going to shoot three. It just ruins the game. And I think they should actually take off sports gambling. And a degenerate's going to be in the comments saying, oh, no, sports gambling will make sports cool. Well, it kind of kills the game. If you're just going to be actively watching, most likely 9 out of 10 times, the guy who's sports gambling and watching the Heat versus, the Hornets, and it's not on anything, he's going to be on an illegal website where you watch, I forgot there was this one website. I literally forgot. That's how you know I've never used it. But there's these websites you can use to watch the games illegally, and it's streamed and all that. And so most likely a sports gambler is going to be using that because they're already putting in money and risking it. And why spend more money to watch the game? So to me, sports gambling is just ruining it. It put baseball genuinely with the Ohtani thing on risk, because at the end of the day, I really genuinely believe Ohtani was the one gambling. I really do. And he just had his translator take the fall. But Ohtani drags in so much viewership from overseas that makes it a global game solely because of Ohtani. They've already made up a $700 million contract. So that's why I'm saying sports gambling ruins it, because imagine if there is clear-cut evidence it was Ohtani. Clear-cut evidence. Then the league's cooked if you suspend Ohtani and give him the Pete Rose treatment. Pete Rose must be kicking himself knowing that Ohtani got a pass and he can't even get in the Hall of Fame. But anyways, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Would you remove sports gambling or would you keep it around? Personally, me, it's getting to the point where you got to remove it with all these kinds of situations. But anyways, thank you guys for watching.